Since hitting an all-time high about a month ago, Nvidia is down over 15%. The company reports earnings in about 2 weeks. So what should we expect from the group as we head into that report? We're going to ask the chart master, Carter Worth of Worth Charting. Carter, what are you seeing?
Sure, Courtney. And before we get to the charts, I mean, in many ways, it has always been a beta trade. Just consider the fact that, of course, semis are down 9.5%, the SOX index from their peak of 3 weeks ago, where the S&P is down 3. Well, on the way down from the original peak, S&P dropped 27, SOX dropped 48. And of course, from the low in October, from which all equities have been bouncing, S&P is up 28 and the SOX is up 67. It's just juice. So the question is there more juice to the downside right now, having already dropped 9.5%? I should think so. Let's look at 3 identical charts. So the first, it's the SMH, no lines, no drawings, no judgments. Let's put some in. It's all very symmetrical. Second chart, it is what it is. And are we ordained? Do we have to go down to that uptrend line? No. Do I think we are? Yes. Let's look at another iteration. Final iteration. We're in a channel. The lower bound is another 4%. Ultimately, I think we'll get us down as much as 7 from here.
It's very interesting moves here, Carter, and obviously so many people are interested in these names, particularly Nvidia. We heard about some of the super chip information this week. Any of those I know you're a technical guy, but any of those fundamentals at play here that we need to be paying attention to, especially since we're not going to hear the full results of the quarter for another 2 weeks?
Happily, some people take things to fall asleep. If I ever can't fall asleep, I get out a Q or a K, and I'm out like that. It's beautiful. Thank you.
You got it. Well, thank you, Carter. We will see you in a few minutes on options action. Tim, what do you make of the action here in the chip space with Nvidia in particular? Does this actually give us an opening price point to jump in?
I don't think, first of all, until the 23rd, we know they're going to beat. The question is, how significantly are they going to beat? How great of a beat? And what do they need to do to actually put a floor under a stock that obviously was a rocket ship? And you can make an argument. It's easy to say now. That stock for 2.5 months after the earnings announcement last quarter was one that people were betting against and wrong. And ultimately, I think the AI dynamics in terms of the earnings potential of the company, we're going to continue to hear strength there. Carter talked about the charts. I think the dynamics in the semiconductors as a group more broadly are really fascinating because they've underperformed the S&P during that period where they're down 9%, as Carter pointed out, by almost 7%. So it's really been significant relative underperformance or not really making a relative high during that period from the NVIDIA announcement on May 25th last quarter. So I think they're going to continue to trend lower, too. We've also seen major rotation. Doesn't mean they fall out of bed, but I think there's still some room for this entire trade to go back. And note, obviously, the Qs have been underperforming as well, not as significantly, but they, too, broke through that 50-day. And I think the S&P follows. I think, you take your cues from the market here. Does not mean devastation. It means that in August and September, where seasonals tell you that I think these markets could continue to be weaker, I don't think you have to chase any of this stuff into NVIDIA earnings.
Julie, what do you make of what's going on here generally when we're talking about the chips? I mean, they have been so hot. It's been a sector that we paid such close attention to. But Bonawyn brought it up earlier in the show. This week, there's been a lot of focus on energy, a top-performing sector here today. So is the chip trade cooling off? Are we moving back into the old economy here for opportunity?
It's really hard to say. I think that at the end of the day, for me, these are businesses that are cyclical, capital intensive, and they require really strong uptrends and secular trends that are very hard to predict. And I still continue to hear when I talk to management teams in the software business, when they're talking about AI, there is a certain reticence and a certain hesitation to really get aggressive about it. They all talk about it because they have to talk about it, but I actually don't get a sense that this, if you build it, they will come. That is not my sense. I think that, the concept of AI and generative AI in particular is going to take a much longer time to play out than people have in their earnings forecasts and models. I think NVIDIA is a little bit different just because it has a near almost monopoly in terms of what it's able to produce. But I think for the rest of the sector, it's, for me, pretty unappealing at these levels. And generally speaking, not what I would say high quality.
Bonawyn, what do you make of the chip trade?
Yeah, I tend to agree with the last point that Julie made. The divergence between a name like Nvidia and the rest of the space, right? There is some cyclicality depending on what name you're looking at, and some economic headwinds that you might be thinking of. Nvidia, I think that's what you ask initially, and that's what I'm going to kind of focus on here. It has had one run. One of the things that Carter mentioned is beta. So when you're looking at a portfolio, you're going to look at up capture and down capture. So it's got a 1.76 beta. This thing is up like 200% this year. So I don't think it's crazy to think that it might give up 10 or 15%, particularly if they're not able to raise guidance. The question is, where's your entry point and how much more outperformance can you expect, and how much outperformance have you already had? So if you're going to tell me that I'm going to outperform by, I don't know, 150%, I'm willing to take the volatility that comes with that. The beta of that stock tells you that that's what you should be expecting when you invest there.